Start spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.
Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang! It's over! The Bulls win at the buzzer! Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. Puts up the three. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of Off the Ball Podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. This show is brought to you by the Off the Ball Network and our guys at SeatGeek. SeatGeek, your number one place for all your ticket needs. Use promo code Off the Ball Network, all cats, for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. So, got a great group of guys with me, as you can see. My guy Kevo in the building. We got Kenneth in the building, and we got Mo Solo Cup in the building. What's going on, fellas?
Chilling. It's Friday. We up. We lit.
It is Friday. We are ready, but we got a lot to talk about, and a big trade, a trade that we've been waiting for a minute, wait for it to happen, and it finally happened. Dame Lillard is a Milwaukee Buck. He was traded in a three-team trade, so he is heading to Milwaukee in a blockbuster trade. Drew Holiday heading out to Portland, probably going to get bounced. Most likely will get traded, somewhere. So that's going to be another big trade that'll be happening. But massive trade. Dame Lillard going, Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton heading to Portland. And all. I think that's going to be good for him. I think we'll finally get to see the DeAndre Ayton that was a number one pick and all that. But I'll just see as below the trade details and all that. Yusuf Nurkic and Grayson Allen will be heading to the Suns and all that. So big time trade and all that in the league. But guys, I got a couple Miami Heat fans in here, so I'm really interested to get their take on this, because we all know Dame wanted Miami, right? And we talk about player empowerment and all that, and usually they get their way. And it's not that he got traded, and you got to I'll give respect to Portland. They traded him somewhere where he could win, right? They just. And I think we all thought that because, with player empowerment and all that, that he would force his way to Miami, and it didn't happen. But, Portland got what they wanted. They got the best deal they felt, that they can get. And they sent out their best player in franchise history to a place where he could possibly win a championship. And, ultimately that's, it worked out for both parties at the end of the day. So, but we thought Miami was going to be the spot. He said, I want to be a Miami Heat. Like, I anywhere else but Miami, I ain't showing up and all that. So, Kev, Mo, you guys are resident Miami Heat fans. In your opinion, why do you think Damian Lillard is not a member of the Miami Heat? Mo?
Oh, y'all want me to go first?
Yeah. Let's start it off.
I'm going to tell you like this. I don't even care about Dame not being in Miami. I'm about to go off. Like, okay, Dame's not in Miami. He tried to force his hand. Obviously, the owner and the GM was like, nah, we're not going to give you what you want, but we'll still give you an opportunity. But, hey, we'll just send you to the Midwest version of us. We'll send you to Milwaukee. The only difference between Portland and Milwaukee has Giannis on the roster. Outside of that, both those cities suck. I don't care if you're from Portland. I don't care if you're from Milwaukee. Both of y'all cities suck. Nobody ever moves there. Nobody vacations to Portland. If you told me, hey, I'm going on vacation to Portland, I'm going on vacation to Milwaukee, then your vacation sucked. You go down south, you go to Vegas, you go to LA, you go to New York City. So your life sucks. You're just in the Midwest as opposed to the Pacific Northwest. That's cool. I'm going to tell you where my beef is at. Is All right, Dame doesn't go to Miami. You know who got real loud?
Knicks fans.
Two teams fans that we bust they ass in the
Celtics
playoffs. Knicks fans, Chris, I love
Hey.
you to death. Yeah, hold on, Chris. You stayed quiet. This has nothing to do with you. This has everything to do with your fans, your friends, your fans, the people that love the Knicks. You stayed quiet. We had good conversation, cordial conversation. Hey, somebody check on Mo. I'm good. All right, cool. Now let's have a conversation. Kim was like, hey, I'm cool. I'm a Lakers fan. I done seen so many championships in my life. I don't care what the Heat do. I've seen them. So what? Kobe done won one. Kobe done won a couple in my lifetime. LeBron done brought me one. It's the Knicks fans and the Celtics fans that had everything to say. Bruh. Yeah, we bust y'all head in the playoffs just this past year with this roster that's about to go into next year. And they were celebrating as if Dame going to Milwaukee was a championship for them. Hey, last time I checked, Milwaukee is where? Oh, the Eastern Conference. Holy hell. If I'm a Knicks fan or a Celtics fan, oh my God. Dame just made a team that's already better than me, better in the East. Damn, that's such a logic for me to jump on Twitter and clown the Miami Heat. And then I had people hit me up. Hey, bro, you see what the Knicks fans, bro, I sat pat. I'm like, yeah, I see what they're saying because you know what? The end result is y'all are going to be what you're going to be. The Heat culture is going to continue to exist. We'll make a minute move that nobody loves, that everybody says it doesn't make them better, and somehow, some way, we pop back up into the Eastern Conference Finals because holy hell, that's what the Miami Heat do. But it's the fact that what pissed me off, I don't care. We didn't get Dame. I wanted Dame. I felt like if we got Dame, we could win the championship. 100%. That's fair to say. Everybody in here was in the group chat. Everybody in here know I was pitching for Dame. I would love Dame, and that would elevate us into ultimately possibly winning a championship. But it was we don't get Dame and the teams beneath us had everything to say. Dog, the Knicks had a party on Twitter as if there was a championship being held, as if the best team in New York right now doesn't exist in the WNBA. Then Boston had everything to say as if we didn't just beat them in the playoff series, as if their New England Patriots don't suck, as if their Boston Red Sox don't suck. And we're waiting to see what their Boston Bruins do. I'm not too tapped into the NHL. They could be very good, and everything could change in about Boston, but I know last year they sucked. So therefore, two cities with two teams that are absolutely terrible had everything to say about Miami. Bro, that's what bothered me. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. Kev, go ahead.
I don't think Mo answered the question, but okay.
Yeah, Mo just went on his daily Mo rant.
Mo is mad at Knicks Twitter.
What bothered me about Dame not going to Miami was not Dame not being a Heat fan. It was everything else. Dame's not a Heat. Okay, well, I thought we was going to get him 100%. But it was the fact that when he got traded to Milwaukee, two Eastern Conference teams that we beat to go to the finals, get bust, that's fine. We beat y'all to get there. Had everything to say and clown the Miami Heat as if y'all teams ain't in tumultuous trash going into next year. Get out of here.
That's that word, but
yeah, you know it's a rant when he's saying tumultuous, but
he didn't say tumultuous. He tried to say tumultuous.
I got you. I got you though. I got you. All right, but look, I'm gonna
go on my rant. Yeah, Kev, tell me why. Give me a logical reason you think Miami didn't get him, not because of Knicks Twitter. Makes you mad about.
I've seen everything.
New York's always in there. Everybody hates New York, bro.
So look, it's really this simple to me, right? Joe Cronin was just not trying to deal with the Miami Heat, right? When Dame came out and said that he strictly wanted to go to Miami, Joe Cronin was just automatically like, nah, we're going to send you anywhere else except Miami, right? He wasn't serious. They said he proposed to try and get Jimmy or Bam. We know that's not happening. We know Pat Riley's old, but he's not senile. So that's the one thing. Two, I knew it kind of wasn't going to work out in our favor because it dragged out so long. Like sometimes
way too long. Because look, the KD trade happened like in minutes. It felt like,
and behind the scenes,
we wasn't even expecting it. It just happened,
and it was behind the scenes and all this stuff. So my biggest thing, like just taking my shoes out of my Miami Heat fandom, I just wanted Dame to go to a team where he could actually contend. Everybody's talking about, oh, he needs to go to San Antonio and this. I'm like, bro, y'all are crazy as hell.
I heard that.
If Dame is going to leave Portland, I need him to go to a place where he's actually going to compete for a championship. That's why he wanted to leave, right? So for him going to Milwaukee, I'm not mad at that, right? He's with Giannis, he's with Chris Middleton. Yeah, they got a new head coach, but they should be the best team in the East going into the season. But for the Heat, is it disappointing? Hell yeah. That was damn near our entire offseason. Obviously, we lost Gabe Vincent and Max Strus to the Lakers and the Cavaliers. And so now we're pretty much trying to replace 2 starters, but we've had a solid offseason. You got Josh Richardson, you got Thomas Bryant, whatever. You're hoping on a Tyler Hero emergence because, he's good for the regular season, but we need something in the playoffs. You need Nikola Jovic to be good. But when it just comes to that, like, I honestly wasn't that disappointed just because, again, like, I needed Dame to go to a team where he can actually compete. That's all I want. I want the top tier players to be on teams where they can compete. Like in certain situations, it's not going to be like that because you need guys to be in them terrible situations. But a guy like Dame, who's been in Portland for 10 years and he's only been to a conference finals, maybe 2, if I'm not mistaken. Like, bro, it's time for him to actually we want to see a player like that in big time playoff moments, right? Late in the season. So to me, like, I'm happy for bro personally. I mean, I know he's from Oakland. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know too many people from Oakland that are trying to go to Milwaukee, but it is what it is. I'm pretty sure he'll make it work. But for the Heat, look, I'm not even going to blame Pat Riley because, again, Joe Cronin wasn't serious. Like, if Dame went in and was just like, I want to trade me anywhere, they might have entertained the Miami deal because the Miami deal, to be honest, is better than, as of right now as it stands, is better than what they ended up getting. Depending on what Drew gets traded for, that might change my opinion on that because Drew could get traded for a pick or 2, whatever. But it is what it is, bro. The league doesn't like the big time markets. Like Pop hates the Lakers. A lot of people hate Pat Riley. Danny Ainge hates the Heat. Like it's just how it is when you're in a big market like that. So I'm not mad at it, bro. Dame's in a way better situation. At the end of the day, that's all I could have asked for. The Heat, I'm not worried about them. You know why? Because even though Giannis is one of our biggest rivals, we have the one dude in the league that can slow him down, and that's Bam Adebayo. So I feel comfortable in any situation against the Bucks. And so with that, I hope we see him again in the playoffs. And I'll finish with this too real quick. The both times we dusted him out the playoffs in the bubble and this past year, they upgraded at point guard each time. 2020, they went from Eric Bledsoe to Drew. And then, of course, this year they went from Drew to Dame Lillard.
And he just moved from Portland to Milwaukee. Like, you just moved to the Midwest version of your city that you lived in. Let's just throw that out there.
I'd much rather be in Portland.
Situation. I'd probably rather be in Portland than Milwaukee. Yeah. I've been to both. They both suck, but I'd probably rather be in Portland just because at least I can get missing and lose in the first round and nobody cares because I'm still in Portland. So just saying. And I don't have Giannis in the Midwest version of Portland. So expectations are high over there. Just throwing that out there.
All right, I'm done. Thoughts on this? Did Nick's Twitter bother you?
Nick's Twitter never bothers me. I just think that it
can't bother you. You're a Lakers fan. Nothing can bother you.
Yo, Lakers Twitter is just as bad.
Oh, I agree. I mean,
they won.
We were down 3-0 to the Nuggets, and they were telling me that we were coming back and winning the title. And it's like, you haven't watched the 3 games that I've watched.
Yeah, no.
Because we're not coming back from this.
But you know what's crazy, Ken? You've won. You know what it's like to win, so no other Twitter can bother you.
But
I've never seen a championship. So
Mo said that the Bruins are bad. They just had the best regular season of all time in hockey. So we'll leave Mo out of the
can't do the hockey show now.
I don't know hockey. I'm sorry.
He also said that if you go to Portland or Milwaukee, then you had terrible family vacations. And then he said that he went to both of them. So that tells me that Mo has had terrible family vacations.
Well, I didn't go on family vacation to Milwaukee. I've just been to Milwaukee. I went on vacation to go watch the Portland Trailblazers play the Los Angeles Lakers, which is the only reason I was in Portland in the first place. So Portland sucks as a city. Just so if you're from Portland and you're listening, your city sucks. It's absolutely terrible, and I'll never go back there. Throwing that out there.
So, shout out to all the hippies, man.
Yeah.
So don't they have like their own city there now? Don't they have like their own city? They do like their own stuff there. Like it's like
they're all crackheads. What are we talking about?
Bro, Ken, go ahead, bro.
My bad, Ken. I'm done.
So I've always liked Giannis. I've always liked Lillard. I like the pairing together. This had to happen because Middleton just can't be your number 2 because Drew was
he's getting banged up a lot lately.
Like the way that he shoots in the playoffs, that's a 3 option. That's not a 2. So I think that obviously that's a massive upgrade there. This is one of these rare NBA trades where I looked at it and I actually thought that all three teams kind of got exactly what they wanted, because the Bucks get their superstar. The one knock on Phoenix this offseason was, well, you're paying 4 guys, and then who else is on the Phoenix Suns? And so getting rid of Ayton, as tough as that is, because I think when he's playing, he's phenomenal. Being able to add some depth to this roster, you get a replacement in Nurkic, you get Grayson Allen, you get Johnson, you get Little. Like, there's some pieces there now where you look at the Suns and you think, okay, in a 7-game series now, I think that that's going to be a very tough out. I don't think that Drew's sticking around in Portland very long. I'd be very surprised if he's a part of their long-term plans, especially the way that they drafted. So I still don't think that Miami's necessarily out on a guy like Drew heading there. So that's why I'm not thinking that Miami's dead, which is why it's all the more hilarious that Celtics fans and Knicks fans are dancing on their grave, because the
Knicks fans don't want Drew Holiday apparently, because he doesn't. Whatever.
Yeah, because y'all don't have 1,000 first-round picks and can't give up 2 for Drew Holiday.
You know why? Because there's always they're trying to get the next big fish that we've never gotten ever.
Welcome but I think overall, like, Miami hasn't lost yet. There's still time to make a decision here, and I think that going and getting a guy like Drew, we know that Lowry isn't it. We've known that probably
in New York. Can't let that happen.
Since about 10 games into his. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is he not on the last year of his deal, Lowry?
Yeah,
he is.
I mean, it makes the contracts work. Portland's probably fine taking on his contract. It would have to be picks involved. Like, I think that on the surface, it works between the two teams to actually make that happen. And it would be a massive upgrade for Miami, because when they brought in Lowry, he was meant to be their 3 in a big 3, and it just hasn't happened. It hasn't happened yet for Tyler Hero yet. Still could. He's still relatively young in the league, so I haven't lost complete and total faith in him. So I don't think that Miami fans should be completely distraught over this Lillard move. I think that they could still make something happen.
Where's the Mike Breen bang for what?
Drew,
where's the Mike Breen bang? Shout out to Ken.
I don't have the roadcaster set up.
Nah, I'll do it in a much lesser fashion.
Yo, Mo, I think Mo, when Mo comes to New York, he's gonna enjoy all the New Yorkisms. He's gonna want to be. He's gonna be. We're gonna have to go with. We're gonna find Mario. What?
Yeah, except Knicks fans, like the ones that are talking shit on Twitter. The Knicks fans are gonna piss.
We're gonna go to a Knicks game, and you're gonna see Mario acting like a fool, and you're gonna be you want to be that guy. You see, Mo, you're gonna do that. You want to be a part of that.
If I ever see that video, I'm leaving the network.
What is that?
So bad. Mo, you know you want to say F so bad. Because
I said, Mo, you gonna be the
in Miami. You want to be that. You want to be a meme, bro. You want to be a meme.
Not at all.
The Bing Bong guy is working for the Knicks now. The Bing Bong guy has got a job with. He's working with the Knicks now. So,
shout out to him.
But yeah, that let's talk about DeAndre Ayton, because he's a big piece in this trade too. Obviously, Drew Holiday he'll probably get flipped, and there's a couple. I heard New Orleans too is an option too. Him going back to New Orleans and all that could be an option. But like Miami's in play, for the Knicks are in play. There's a few teams. There's a lot of teams that could use Drew Holiday and him be the missing piece. I mean, he fits Miami like a T. He's a Miami Heat. Like he fits the culture.
He's a Heat culture guy, but he also fits other teams trying to win a championship. Like that's the thing is all the teams mentioned with Drew Holiday, he fits everywhere.
He fits every team that's missing that third piece. Like if he's your third piece on your team, that's your championship team. He showed it. So whatever team he goes to, they're definitely going to make it. But DeAndre Ayton, I think he's the one player in this that I feel like benefits the most. Because I think we kind of think he's been in the league for a minute, but he's still hella young. Like he's still a very young player, and we haven't get to see him blossom yet because it felt like he was about to, and then they start making a lot of big moves and all that, and then he's butting heads with Monty and all that, and then things got out of hand last year and all that. We don't know what happened and all. So he moves on, and he happy. He's also. I've never seen the man smile before. He's looking very happy that he's in Portland, and it's a good move for Portland because he still fits the timeline. Because he's what 24, 25, so he's not
like 24
and all that, and there's still potential. You know, usually with guys his age, the bigs, you're like, all right, he is what he is. I still feel like there's another level to his game that we didn't really get to see, you know, in Phoenix. And him motivated, he looks happy, like I said, that might get him another. And I'm playing with these young guys, you know, I think he benefits a lot where we might see, you know, who we thought DeAndre Ayton really is. And even with him playing as the third, fourth option, he still was 15 and 11. So now kind of being the best offensive player right now on that team, because we still got to see what Shaedon Sharpe is, you know, and we still got to see what Scoot is. You know, he's only a rookie. Shaden's only going to be his third year in the league, right? So we still got to see, and they got some other young pieces. We still got to see what those guys are. But right now, he's the best player on the team. So I think he's going to benefit a lot for that. So how do we feel about DeAndre Ayton going forward? Do you guys see the you know the upside that I see, you know, with him being there and all that? And you know, so what's your guys' thoughts on DeAndre Ayton going to Portland? Kev?
I love it just because I'm not the biggest DeAndre fan myself, but as y'all mentioned, like going from a situation where you're trying to compete for a championship and you're still really trying to figure out your own style of play and your niche in the league, and now you can go to a situation where you can play amongst guys that are more, like you said, on his timeline. He really can just get the ball, and he should average like at damn near 20 this year, if I'm being honest.
He could be 20 and 10 easy.
Yeah, like it's Scoot's team, or it will be at least, but in Shaedon too, but he should be like damn near 20 and 10 in my opinion. So again, where you go to a place where the expectations drop tremendously and you're just trying to figure out the rotating pieces on guys that need to play and don't need to play, guys that need shots and don't need shots, DeAndre should be straight, to be honest. Like, again, he's going to be the vet, which is going to be kind of interesting. So we'll see how that works out. But, I mean, having mentioned Anthony Simons, like, those guys are going to need shots too. But to me, he's the only, like, real big on the team, if I'm not mistaken. So give him the rock, feed him. And honestly, all of his, like, I think Monty Williams kind of gave up on him a little bit too fast. Like, I understand, like, when you're a guy like that, you have to be the anchor of the defense for the most part, especially when you trade Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. So for him, again, going to a place where the expectations just drop, it should make his life a lot more easier. And I think that's a great pickup for Portland.
Ken?
I love it. I think that it's a great spot for him. The fact that he was 18 and 10, yet we talk about him like he's 12 and 7 is kind of crazy. And we just said he's going to be the vet on that team. That's going to be a great league pass team this year. Having Scoot, Shaedon, Simons, him, Jeremy Grant, like that's going to be a fun up and down team. They're not going to win a lot of basketball games, quite frankly, but they will be fun to watch nonetheless. I agree with Kev. I think he has the potential to be a 20 and 10, 20 and 12 type guy for this team. I think that he's very solid defensively. Big thing for him has always been health. He misses a decent amount of time in his career, and now he's going to be called upon a lot more than he was in Phoenix. So it was tough for him too, because you're the number one pick, and then you go to the finals just a few years into your career, and you're really not the guy on that finals team. Yeah, the expectations, because you're the number one pick, is that you're supposed to take that next leap to be a superstar. And while he may not be that, does that mean that he's not a really good young NBA player? No, it just means he's not a top 20 player in the league. So I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to have a ton of fun in Portland, and this is a roster that can definitely grow together as well. And we could be talking about Portland in a few years. This is why the Dame trade had to happen, because he was winning them too many games just on his own. And now you're just going to let those guys take those shots, learn from their mistakes. And I think it's going to be huge for Portland.
Yeah. And I forgot about, they still have Jeremy Grant too. So like, you know, whether they try to, I know his contract's pretty, you know, he has, I think he's in year 2 of his contract. He got the max, which is kind of crazy and all that. But to see if they try to fit. But if Scoot, Shaden, because those are the two big keys in this, because they're if everything all revolves around those two. If they develop the way we think they're going to develop, I mean, we could be talking about maybe a quick turnaround. Like it can go from having the top 3 pick to maybe they're in a play-in next season. Not this because next season, the next year after this. So I think it could be a quick turnaround, but it all depends on Shaden and Scoot and how they develop, because they got some interesting pieces on this team. They got Thibault on the team, so they got some guys who could defend and all that. They got a lot of interesting young bigs. That they drafted the kid from Florida State. I'm trying to think of his name. I forgot his name, but they got a lot of interesting 7-footers on this team and all that. So,
and I don't know how you dump Jeremy Grant, because he's got a player option in the year 2027, 28. That's $36 million.
Yeah, they signed him to that bullshit deal.
$36 million on that player option. He will be 33 at that time, and then he'll be a UFA at 34. So
and he's 29. That's a tough look. He's 29 years old. Yeah. So, it'll be tough, but you know what? There's always a team. There's always a team.
Somehow, some way, Jeremiah Grant finds his way in Miami, and
you called him Jeremiah. You didn't even call him Jeremy. You called him Jeremiah.
Yeah, whatever. Jeremiah. Somehow we find ourselves like trying to convince us that Grant is the guy to help the Heat for some reason, because that's just what we do.
And shout out to his agent, though. That's a hell of a move.
Outside of the money, Grant is a Heat culture guy. Outside of the money, if he was getting paid $15 million, I'd be like, oh, I'll take Grant. But
he was for like a few years, and he was hella underrated. And then he got the bag, and it was like,
he averaged 20 last year, but
his value went down when you're talking about this.
He would be on a team that's winning basketball games, which is 12.
Exactly.
They got superstar Kevin Knox on the team too, so
Oh, Jesus Christ!
The ceiling is the roof, like Michael Jordan said. So
in other hoops news,
now the cigars talking.
I'll be honest, I didn't know Kevin Knox was still in the league. I thought for sure he was overseas by now.
Barely.
He's hanging on. He's at his last stop.
He's Jabari Parker Jr. He'll be overseas, talking about how it's so much better overseas than in the NBA like a year.
At least
or two.
Jabari Parker could play though.
Jabari Parker sucked in the NBA. Let's stop there.
He averaged 20 a couple times in the league.
Carter
Knox. See now,
he's Jeremy Grant.
We just talked about a guy.
His brother, Kevin Knox couldn't play at all. At least Jabari could play. He just couldn't play defense or stay healthy, but he could play. But
yeah, I guess
Kevin Knox could not
defending
play.
A Duke guy, I get it. Mo, what do you think?
I gotta defend my boy too. Gotta defend my guy. But so obviously the Milwaukee Bucks have Damian Lillard now, and they have Giannis, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez. It is an older team now. So are they the favorites out east, though? Even with the older roster, new head coach, like you said, with AJ Griffin, all that. So, Bud is no longer there. They lost some pieces, but obviously they got Dame. They have a 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. They got Brook Lopez. Chris Middleton, if he's healthy, we know what he can do. He could score. Are the Milwaukee Bucks the favorites to come out the East?
Yes, because you'd be stupid not to bet money saying they're not. But if you really dive into the basketball situation, on paper, they have they got their missing piece, because offensively, Dame is an upgrade. But when you look at what they're missing defensively, losing Drew Holiday, every hoop head knows they're going to figure that out, find that out, and they'll see it for themselves later on in the season. Dame is better than Drew Holiday. I just want to make that clear before I say anything. Damian Lillard is a better basketball player than Drew Holiday. But the way Milwaukee plays basketball, they are going to miss Drew Holiday's defensive prowess over gaining Damian Lillard's offensive prowess. And they could turn around, win the championship, and nobody would be surprised. That's the thing, is they could turn around, win the championship. Dame is everything he was for Milwaukee, and they win the championship, and nobody would be surprised. But if they don't win the chip, everybody's going to be wondering why. And the wondering why is that Drew Holiday is not there to play defensively. And then everybody's going to point back, well, how could that be possible? Because Jimmy Butler cooked him, was in his face, this and that. But like Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, seeing him cook Drew Holiday like that was, like Kev said before, that was an anomaly. That's not something that we were used to seeing happen to Drew Holiday. That's something that we wouldn't envision happening to Drew Holiday. But if there was somebody that was going to do it, it was going to be a healthy playoff Jimmy. Like if there was a guy in the East that you said, hey, who's going to make Drew Holiday look bad defensively? I think every person who really knows basketball would be like, it'd be Jimmy Butler. Outside of that, not sure.
Also,
but
Drew had to take a bigger offensive responsibility too because of Middleton,
Right. And that's why I say, like, so now you're looking at it's what, Milwaukee, Boston. My thing is, yes, I'm a Heat fan, but you can't count out Miami. I'll never be the guy, no matter who went. I'll never be the guy who count out the team that went to the finals.
So who's the top 6 right now, Mo? Who's your top 6 right now in the East?
In order or just names?
It's the 6. Give me the top 6.
Okay, Milwaukee, Boston, Miami, New York,
Cleveland,
and no, because I don't know what's gonna. I don't want to throw Philly out there because I don't think Harden's gonna be a 76er at the beginning of the season. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say Brooklyn. And it's only because I don't think Philly is going to have that roster. What their roster is right now, I don't think it's going to look like that at the beginning of the season. I don't know what a Harden trade is going to look like. And they very easily could trade Harden in a 3-team deal, get Drew Holiday. And now I look at Philly as their 6. I think Brooklyn has the potential. I'm not buying into stock of like, oh, Ben Simmons about to be an all-star player. They back to the form of 2-time all-star player. But at the same time, like if he could facilitate, get rebounds and play his role, you got Mikal Bridges. Like this is a team that made the playoffs without Ben Simmons. If he's able to find his role within that, you're talking about Ben Simmons as a role player. Like now you got a pretty damn good team. I think Brooklyn will probably be in 6 only because I don't know what Philly's going to do. And let's be honest, like, Joel Embiid, there's been reports that Joel Embiid is putting pressure on Philly to make something happen to be able to compete because he knows even with if we bring back James Harden, cool, let's run it. But if we're not and James Harden don't want to be here, we got to make something shake or else we're not going to be competitive versus some top 5 teams, which is the Knicks, the Heat, the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Bucks. So now we got to figure out something because right now we're the 6th or 7th best team in the East, and we got to make something shake because we're not counting Harden being on this roster. So I would say Brooklyn just because I think Philly's going to shake it up, and I think it's going to lead to the inevitable that Joel Embiid won't be a Sixer after this year. He probably finishes out the year as a Sixer, could be a trade deadline guy when he could be a disgruntled superstar. Because we always find a disgruntled superstar that wants out around the trade deadline. He could be that guy, but he could also be too expensive where teams are like, we don't got the assets to go get Joel Embiid right now, but we could get him in the offseason when we got more time to figure that out. So I would say Brooklyn, and I don't.
I want to say real quick too. Yeah. My bad, Ken. I just want to say this real quick. Brooklyn, I think Brooklyn is a sleeper team for Drew Holiday too, just because Portland has had interest in Ben Simmons before, and I think it would be a chance that they can make that move. But
does Drew Holiday for Ben Simmons make Brooklyn still the sleeper that you think it could be with Ben Simmons?
Yes, because just because to me personally, Drew Holiday is more of a pure point guard, which they were missing last year than Ben Simmons. I think that's the only thing Brooklyn's really missing is a true point guard. Like Mikal's solid or good, Cam Johnson good. Nick Claxton gonna hold down the paint. You just need a pure point guard. Spencer Dinwiddie wasn't a point guard, and that's why they couldn't get a game versus Philly. Like he was just.
I could see Drew Holiday and Spencer Dinwiddie kind of clicking together. I just kind of was like, I think with the potential, my thing is I still hold on to like what Ben Simmons could be potentially if he is back and healthy.
I think we gotta let that go.
Bro, I got 3.
I think we gotta let it go.
Listen, I got 3 months. I have 3 months. 3 months. By Christmas, I'm gonna know what Ben Simmons is, and I will wake up on Christmas morning.
Already
Understand? I don't know that we know. I don't know that.
What year was Ben Simmons drafted? 16?
16.
Yeah, but he spent the first year he didn't play. And then he's made 2 All-Star games. I'm not saying he's going to be All-Star Ben Simmons, but I don't know if Brooklyn needs him to be that as opposed to be an elite facilitator who could get rebounds and score 14 points a game.
But that's my question to you, though. Is Ben Simmons
14, 8, 6?
That's my question to you.
I wouldn't play him. I wouldn't play him from Brooklyn.
No, this is my question to you, though. Is Ben Simmons an elite facilitator, for real?
Elite? Like, if we say elite facilitator,
is he a high-level facilitator?
I say high level. He's not elite because, like, elite facilitator, I start to think about Luka, Harden, LeBron, this and that. But I think he'd be under the level of that to run an offense. I think he'd be under the top 5 guys that you think of as elite facilitators. I think he'd be under that. I think he's a top 10 facilitator in the league if healthy and ready to go. I think he'd be a top 10 facilitator.
So the Bucks.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. You put Ben Simmons with you talking about
I'm saying we've strayed very far off the path of talking about the Bucks.
The Bucks are done. Like we're past the Bucks at this point. We started talking about DeAndre Ayton. Shit. Screw the Bucks.
We
they better win a championship.
Asking if the Bucks are the favorites in the East. Which
they are.
You think so? You think Brooklyn's in that 6? So you think you have Milwaukee,
Miami, Cleveland,
Boston, Cleveland,
and who did I say? And I said Brooklyn. Yeah, because I don't know what's
the Knicks.
Philly. Oh no, I said the Knicks. No, I said the Knicks.
Oh, okay.
The Knicks. That's 5, and then I said Brooklyn because it was Brooklyn or Philly, and I was just saying I don't know what Philly's going to be because I don't know what they get for Harden. I don't know if they trade Harden. I don't know if they don't trade Harden what it looks like. If they do trade Harden, does Embiid become dissatisfied and one out? So like Philly's so up in the air that I think if they run it back with the same roster that they have today, they're a top 6 team. But because they're so up in the air of the possibilities they can do, I'm gonna put Brooklyn there instead of Philly until when Philly says, "Hey, we're bringing Harden back, and this is what we're going with going into the season." Okay, Brooklyn's out, Philly's in. But until then, I'm gonna put Brooklyn in there instead of Philly. Just because of the up in the air. Outside of that, like, yeah, Philly's in that top 6. The Knicks are in too. The Knicks they clear. They're in the top 6. Mm-hmm. After that, you start talking about Chicago, Toronto, and all them other teams, and that's a different tier in themselves. So I'll let them ride.
So last year, who did you guys think were the favorites in the East heading into the season?
The Celtics, probably.
I had Philly. Philly going on the chip.
So
betting wise, I would have said Boston. Like
betting wise, or just as fans, like
no, like who did you think was going to win the East last?
I had
year?
Philly,
which I think the majority thought that
Philly
it was going to be Boston.
Yeah, I would have said Boston.
Well, Philly versus Milwaukee or Boston. Yeah, those are the top 3.
What was the one issue that Boston dealt with heading into the year? It was the coaching change.
Coaching change? Yeah, well, that was obviously that, and point guard situation.
And what was the issue that they ran into in the playoffs? Missoula made a lot of questionable decisions. That's why I can't put the Bucks there yet because I don't know what Adrian Griffin is. I think that he could be solid like Nick Nurse is, but is Nick Nurse starting to get to that point as well he had Kawhi for a year and they really benefited from injuries and won a title.
That bought him a lot of time.
Coming from that coaching tree where I've even seen Nick Nurse, like he runs players into the ground.
Tom Thibodeau Jr. They've called him that. I told you guys. They call him Tom Thibodeau Jr. in Toronto.
And so I look at the Bucks and I'm like, on paper, does it make sense that they should be the favorites? Yes, but I don't think that Adrian Griffin, until I see it, I just can't put them as when they get into a 7-game series like they're gonna have with a team like Boston.
He's going to go with Darvin Ham. He's going to go through what Darvin Ham went through last year.
And Smart, he's gone, but they brought in Porzingis. Like that's still a very good Boston team. Like we'll see how that's all going to work. I do think that I didn't love it when it happened, but we'll see. Maybe it does benefit Boston more for what they're trying to do.
That's going to be interesting to see that.
But that's why I'm like, look, Lillard is obviously an upgrade from what they had in Drew on the offensive end, but what's it going to look like when you're in that tight game and you have to make that coaching decision? And until I see Adrian Griffin do it, I couldn't get there, especially as someone betting. And right now, full disclosure, to bet the Bucks to win the East is plus 150. So if you're gonna bet a plus 150 like 8 months out from when the playoffs are gonna start, where injuries happen and everything, fill your boots. I think it's really stupid. But I just think as of now, I can't put the Bucks there. And I bet the Bucks to win the East last year. Once we got to playoff time, I thought that they were the best team in the East. Obviously, Miami took care of them in the first round in one of the bigger upsets we've had in a long time. But I can't get there yet with them. I got to see it. I got to see how that's going to fit. And I think that if you're trying to bet them right now, it's really dumb.
Valid.
Facts.
Super valid.
To say facts, like and spitting over it. Like what you posted, you can't argue that.
They're gonna go through a lot of. It's kind of what we saw with Darvin Ham and the Lakers this year. Obviously, different situation, but new coach and all that has to deal with the superstar type players and all that, and that's a big adjustment. From being an assistant, now you're the head man. Now you got to figure out on the fly. Now you're learning how to be a head coach, when to use timeouts, out of timeout plays and all that. And but there's pressure because your superstar, arguably maybe the best player in the league, has put pressure on the franchise, to make something happen, or else he's dipping in the year, and then now you got Dame in here, and I think. Dame has been to Western Conference. He's had, obviously, we've seen the moments, right? He's had big time moments, but this is different now, right? This is a different animal because now he forced his way out, and now he's playing with a superstar player, and now there's truly pressure him. He didn't have that for his whole career, for the 10, 11 years he was in Portland, no pressure. Now there's pressure to win a championship. So there's a lot of things that coach has to figure out. Adrian Griffin had to figure out with this squad. How does he make Giannis happy? How does he make Dame happy? We can't forget about Middleton, because Middleton's been a soldier in this. He's practically been homegrown, right? They got him from Detroit, but they raised him. They brought him up. They made him to an all-star player. You just can't leave him out. Leave him out to dry. He's got to get his touches and all that. And how do you get Brook Lopez involved? Getting his shots. He's gonna need his. He's still shooting the three and all that. Who's going to be that other guy? Is Bonchamp going to step up? You drafted him last year, top 20. What is his development? Because he's going to be huge for you guys. He's a 6'9" wing. You got to get hit. So who's going to step up and for these guys? And you lost some key guys and all that. Losing Drew is going to be massive. Man, I know he struggled a little in the playoffs last year and all that, but the leadership he brings and just the everything he brings to the table, as just that heart and soul of that team is going to be they're going to feel it, but obviously to get Damian Lillard, someone had to go. You had to sacrifice someone, and he's going to be 33 years old, and they felt like, we could replace some of his stuff that he could do on the court and all that. Middleton is still a lethal scorer when healthy, so you get three guys like that can drop 25 plus a game. That's hard to pass up on.
He's the odd man out of that big three based off of what was available, because Lillard was clearly the piece. Now, if there was a wing guy that was available, probably would have been Middleton, quite honestly, because then they would have said, well, we still got Drew. As much as Jimmy cooked him in the playoffs, like, that's an anomaly, and we feel like he's really good. We just upgraded at the wing spot. So it sucks for Drew, especially when you read how the day prior he was saying how he wanted to play in Milwaukee, and it's like that's business. That's the business of the league. Like, at the end of the day, they'll drop you in a heartbeat if they think that they can win 2 more games. So it's tough.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people were like, they talk about the loyalty, how Drew was loyal and he wanted to be here and all that, but it's just the nature of the business, man. Like, it's
also easy to say I want to be here when you get to play with Giannis all the time. Like, guys aren't saying I'm super loyal to Orlando when they're winning 25 games. It's just sometimes you get paired up with that superstar, and it's like, of course I don't want to leave. He makes things so much easier for me. So
100%. And it's going to be interesting to see, how Dame gets act. And I know people talk about like living wise. I don't think that's a big The Dame's a family guy. He'll be all right figuring it out. He was in
He's gonna
Portland
be in
for a
LA all
years.
summer. Like
He's gonna
all
be in
these
LA.
guys are
You
in
know, he
LA,
could go to
Miami,
Miami. If you want to go to Miami, he can go to Miami whenever he wants to. You know that. I think that's kind of gets blown out of proportion and all that. Like
they don't even have time to think because they're just on road trips and they're like
yeah,
they live
he don't
in
got
basketball.
time. You know, and he'll figure it out, and he's getting to play. At the end of the day, your job, this is his job, and he gets to play with Giannis, and now he's going to have that opportunity because he's talked about the level of disrespect he gets. He's not. We always talk about, as far as the point guards of this generation, right? Talk about Kai. We always bring up Kai hitting the shot, Game 7 of the NBA Finals of 2016 against the Warriors. We always talk about Steph and all that, and he feels like he's on that level of those guards, right? And we always talk about John Morant. We're always talking about that, and then we always say, yeah, Dame's over there. He's averaging 30, but it's Portland. So this is his opportunity to show the world why he's a top 75 player of all time, why he's one of the best point guards in the league now, and why he might be one of the best ever. So this is his opportunity to show us, hey, show the world, hey, you think you're just as good as Steph, as Kyrie, as John Moran, and all the other upcoming point guards in the league, Russell Westbrook, all that. This is your opportunity, man. So you gotta prove it.
And with that too, again, what I told y'all before we got on here, somebody of that young core, Andre Jackson, AJ Green, someone, Margin Beauchamp, one of those guys has to help them get through the regular season. Like, if you're depending on your stars to be stars, Miami's been through this too many times too, like last year.
Yeah.
If you're depending on your stars to be your star player every single night, like on their A+ game every single night, that's a rough way to live and survive in the NBA because you kind of need those role players. Like, for instance, the Lakers. The Lakers can win 20 games just off the back of Rui Hachimura being the best player that night, right? You need that one guy that can kind of like carry you through that. Like for the Heat, we've been trying to get that to be Tyler Hero, which he's done it to a certain extent, but it hasn't been what we think it is. And so I'm curious how they do that because Giannis should be fine. Middleton's up in age. Dame is going to worry about getting acclimated. Like, they have enough firepower, but again, you don't want your best guys to be great every single night. And I think right now that's kind of how they're going to have to be because they don't really have those other guys that they drafted. And that's the thing too, is like, I can't even make the excuse that you can't draft well anymore because you can find talent in the second round, in the back end of the second round, right? So I'm curious to see who that guy is that steps up for him this year.
Well, and at the end of the day, for the Bucks, like, they lose a guy, and it's not the biggest name in the world, but you lose a guy like Grayson Allen, and it's 10 points per game, and that's pretty valuable in the league.
Yep.
So you're talking about AJ Griffin and Beauchamp, like, who's going to step up and be that type of guy? And quite frankly, you're going to have to be more than that because Grayson wasn't great on the defensive end. So you got to replace these guys. You went and got Lillard, which means you give up depth, which means that your young guys have to step up because they are going to be asked to play. Instead of playing 6 to 8 minutes, they're playing 12 to 15. And that's an adjustment.
The one thing I worry about them is in crunch time is the shooting. Because when it gets crunch time, especially they're going to be a playoff team, we know that. What has given this team trouble, especially against Kev's Miami Heat, what is giving them trouble? When things get tight, getting shooting. And they don't have that. I know Pat Connaughton is he shoots a good percentage, but it's not on the high volume and all that, all right? And they have a lot of good, they brought in Jay Crowder, but Jay Crowder was, the last few years has been inconsistent and all that. So he's not the same Jay Crowder. Who's going to be that guy? I know they drafted. I love Andre Jackson from UConn. Kev, you know how much I love him. I thought he's a top 25 guy and all that. But what's the one thing he struggles with? Shooting the ball, right? He does everything else, and I think he could bring all the other intangibles, kind of, and bring energy and all that, but can't shoot. Who's going to step up? And
I just mentioned Grayson. That's a 40% 3-point shooter that you just had.
That's a bigger loss than people are. I know people don't like Grayson and all that, and that's cool, but he still shoots 40% from 3-point, and he hit some big shots for them, and he hit some shots where he quiets the crowd, and people hate that, and that's going to be a big piece that they're going to miss, and on top of Drew Holiday and all that. So, I know Dame's a big shot, but who else are they going to have when Dame has to go, because we know Giannis can't shoot,
No.
and, Malik Beasley, he's up and down and all that. We saw it didn't really work out with LA and all that. He have his moments where he could still, cook, but then there's moments where it's like, oh, that's why you haven't played in 10 games, so where are they going to find that shoot? I still feel like they still need a couple more. I know they got Goran Dragic, but he's like, what, 59 years old? Like, come on now. So it's like they still got to figure out. They got to get some more shooters because it's going to come down and they play Miami again, and the same thing's going to repeat. And it's like, well, we fired Bud. We went out and trade Dame, and then we get bounced by Miami again. I could see that still happening because, Miami's not going to play any different because of Dame and because they lost a few pieces. It's still they have still the same identity. So, and that's the one team that's giving them trouble, and that's what could hurt them is that shooting. And I feel like they still got to add a few more pieces and all that if they want to get to where they want to go.
And that was my biggest thing too. Like when it came to the Heat, we would have covered up Dame's biggest weaknesses being defense, right? Because your second and third best players are elite defenders, and then you already have the shooting. We could find the shooting. Duncan Robinson can shoot whatever. With Milwaukee, again, you don't really, like we've been saying, you don't really have that. Like people think Giannis is this great defender. No, bro. He's good. He's good in help side situations off the ball.
He's a great help side. He's not a
on the ball though. Yeah. No, like when people say, "Oh, he needs to go."
Like when he won defensive player of the year, I was like,
no.
Is he really the best defensive player in the league? I don't think. No. I think because he has a lot of highlight blocks. That's a whole nother story about how the defensive player of the year and all. But I get what you're saying. Like I don't think he's as good as a defender as people say.
And that's my thing. And Middleton, people always love to talk about his defense. Cool, he's whatever, right? He's solid, I guess. He's not a liability, but he's not. I wouldn't call him elite either. So
he's starting to get to that point though, Kev, because he's getting older and the injuries are starting to rack up.
Yeah. So they got their work cut out for him. Like I'm excited to watch him personally because I love Damian Lillard, right? He's a hell of a player to watch. He's one of the best shows in it. Like when he's on fire, when Dame time is on fire in action, he's one of the best shows in the league. So I'm very excited to see it play. I just think in playoff situations it could get real tricky for all three of them because again, none of them are star defenders like that at all.
And the window's small too. Like this is like this year and next year, and that's it.
Yeah,
and in my opinion, because Dame's 33, and it could either he could still be an elite player or it can fall off. Like we've seen it. Like Russell Westbrook went from being consistent and he's still playing good, but like it could really just fall off. John Wall fall off. Like we've seen it like in the NBA in the history. Like you can go from being an all-star and all that, and then that you could just fall off the face, and then now you're on 6 teams in 5 years. So I feel like they need to capitalize this year, maybe next year if depending on, but I think this year is they're all we're like the Phoenix Suns. I feel like because Booker's still young, and you don't have to rely on Beal to be, Beal that was led the league in scoring a few years back, and like they still got maybe a couple more years. But I think with Milwaukee, because they're such an older, their best players are in their 30s. Well, on the Giannis 28, but but like Brook Lopez, all that they're in their 30s. And Dame's 33. That this is make or break. Like this, they're legit going all in on this, it's crazy to think because they just won the championship 2 years ago. So it's not like but when the best player in the league arguably says, I ain't signing an extension. Y'all better show. I don't care. We won a championship 2 years ago. He's a legacy player. So all that matters with at the end of the day with Giannis is how many rings he got and all that. Because he got the MVPs and all that. He's got one championship, and that's cool. For some players, you can get away with. Dame could win one ring, and that's cool, right? Mm-hmm. But for Giannis,
Giannis at his position when we're talking all time, there's a lot of them that are sitting on one, and there's not a lot that get 2, 3, 4. So
because if he got racking up now, because some people might have Giannis already top 25, so he keeps racking up rings. It wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the day, end of Giannis' career, that we're talking about him as maybe the greatest of all time. or in that discussion and that Mount Rushmore, and that matters to him. Obviously, it matters to him, right? Because he's like, he just won a chip 2 years ago, and he's already like, yo, I ain't signing extension. Y'all need to show me some, and
he's still chasing the best international player ever. Like, there's a lot for him legacy wise that is going to be critical over the next few years.
Yeah, because he's a legacy player. I've told you guys that there's certain guys that are legacy players that we care about how many rings. That's why it's important for Kevin Durant to try to get a ring, because he's a legacy player. Oh, you won 2, but yeah, you won 2 with Steph and all that. Now they'll probably do the same thing if he wins one, because Book. But people forget you need other good players to win championships, guys. So it's kind of that's you need good players to win championships. I think everybody wants everybody to win with nobody, but realistically,
once he retires, KD's legacy will be.
It'll change. Just like and
everyone hates on the players when they're active. They say something.
We'll look at James Harden differently. Most people will be like,
Russ.
You know what? He averaged 37 in a season once, a couple times. Like, he almost beat the Warriors. Like we'll look at him. We'll look at Westbrook differently and all that. It'll happen, but it's Giannis is a legacy player. He's 28 and he wants to try to get these rings and all that. And I don't blame him, applying a pressure, and they did it. They did it. And we'll see if that works for them, because if it doesn't, it's going to be interesting in Milwaukee this year. If they don't get it done, or they get bounced by Miami somehow, the 8 seed again, and this happens again and they get bounced. Part of me wants to see that, because I like chaos in the league. So I want to see chaos, but if they don't get to the conference finals at minimum. Now, I think it's finals or bust for them internally as a team. I think that's, but at least but if it's anything less than the conference finals,
he's out of there.
Yeah,
he's out.
I think it's one of those, if you lose to
Boston, then Dame's gonna axe out too.
Forgivable, but if you get bounced earlier, or it's in 5-6 games, like heads roll completely on that.
And then everything changes, because he's a free agent next season, right? After next season, or
I want to say yeah. Mm-hmm. After this year.
Yeah.
Chaos, Chris. Give me the chaos.
Chaos, and I'm gonna get emotional with that.
Emotional damage.
Emotional and all that. Well, I want to get that a whole other. But things will be interesting in Milwaukee if it does happen. But that's gonna cap it off for the Off the Ball podcast. We wanted to get time to talk about this Dame stuff. It's massive trade in the league. We got training camp starting up real soon. That's big. Basketball period. We got college basketball starting up soon. Me and Kev are gonna be doing our Big Ten preview this weekend, so check that out. We got our Big East preview that we dropped last week, so check out our Big Ten preview that is going to be coming up. We'll talk about the top impact freshmen, top transfers, new coaches, new places, and new faces, and we'll tell you who we feel like is going to win.
Why Michigan State's going to win the Big Ten this year?
Michigan? As Michigan State's Spartans got a squad, they got a good combination, some good youngins, and some vets on that team. We'll see what Coach Izzo does, but Ken, you tell the people where they can find you and any projects you got coming up.
So yeah, at HedgePod, on a little bit of a podcast hiatus for the next little bit. Just got a lot going on in the personal life, but Chris, appreciate you having me on. Still going to be posting betting picks over at HedgePod. Lions was an absolute lock on Thursday night. Everyone knew that. Packers are frauds. Jordan Love's not very good. And, thanks for having me.
This is narratives that you're just going to stick with. And hey, we're with you on that one. Kev, where can people find you?
Yeah, man, as always, it's at Kevo Mufasa 7.
Oh,
we lost Kev.
We lost him.
We lost Kev. Well, you can find him at I think it's Kevo Mustafa 7 and all that. You can find him there. You my co-host of the Get a Bucket podcast. Like I said, we have our Big Ten preview coming. You can follow me Off the Ball Pod on Twitter, Instagram. Follow the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like. So we're almost at 400 subs. Small feat, but appreciate everyone who's who's been on our side and been rocking with the content. So we're almost at 400 and all that. So on that note, be well, be safe, take care. Off the Ball Network. Peace out.